What's up? Welcome to my first ever YouTube video. So this video is just going to be a tutorial on how to do a straight stitch and a blanket stitch with the intention of giving you some background knowledge on how to sew this free balaclava template that I released. So these are just the type of stitches that we're going to be using for this particular template. You can find the free template in my bio, along with a full tutorial video on how to actually construct the balaclava itself. There's also going to be a full list of the materials I used. If you need to buy anything, let me get that Amazon affiliate link. But anyway, enjoy the tutorial. Let me know for next time what I can do better. Peace. The first stitch we're going to learn for this tutorial is your basic straight stitch. So all we're going to need is some thread, a needle, and some snips, or you can use some scissors. I'm going to be showing you guys how to do it on this scrap piece of fabric. I recommend you get some scrap fabric and try this out for yourself before actually building the balaclava. For a straight stitch, your thread only needs to be about the same length as your edge, plus a couple of inches to account for tying knots and whatnot. So we have it at about the length of our edge, plus a little extra, and then we double it, so we have two strands that are a bit longer than the edge we want to sew. Now just snip it there, thread your needle normally. Then you want to match up the ends of your thread and just tie a quick knot. And then cut off the extra end, and you want to leave a little bit off the end there. Now, when we're using this stitch, it's usually going to be to join two edges together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. So to start the straight stitch, we are going to enter our fabric about 1 centimeter from the edge, pull through almost all the way, and you will see in between our strands, we're going to open this up, and we are going to bring our needle back through that loop and pull it tight. Now, we can start the actual straight stitch. All we're going to do is go in from the front, pull it semi-tight, and then go back in through the back. Pull it tight. And we just keep going. And you're going to follow the same motion until you reach the end. Super easy, super fast. Boom, you've got a straight stitch. Now to tie this off, all we're gonna do, whatever side you're on, just go around the top to the other side, go through, pull the loop tight, and I like to go through just one more time. Pull it tight again, and then we are going to thread this through one of those loops. You're going to have this little loop form here. You're going to run your needle through that loop and tighten down to form a little knot. And then you can go through one more time, again putting your needle through the loop and tightening down. Then snip it, and that is your finished straight stitch. So this is what we are going to use for the main construction of the balaclava, and then the next stitch is what we will use to clean up the raw edges and actually finish the balaclava. The next stitch we're going to use is this, the blanket stitch. It's a simple loop stitch that we're going to use to finish the raw edges on our face mask, and it's basically just a series of overcasting stitches where the needle goes through a loop of thread each time. To start, all we're going to need is some embroidery floss, an embroidery needle with a wider eye, and a pair of snips or a pair of scissors. I'm going to show you guys how to do a basic blanket stitch on this patch of fabric. I have the edges tacked down at a 1 centimeter seam allowance just to make it easy to show you, but that is not necessary. I recommend before you get started on your project, try out these different stitches on some test pieces of fabric. To start, we typically want our floss to be 3 times as long as the edge we are trying to stitch. 1 full side length is 2 strands that are as long as the edge of the fabric. So this is 1 full side length, this is 2 full side lengths, so 1, 2, 3, 4 total strands, and that is about 3 side lengths, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total strands. Now you're just going to thread your needle like normal, match up the ends, and tie a quick knot. Try and just push that knot up to the end of the string. You're gonna have some tails there, and you're just gonna wanna snip some of that off, leave a little bit of a tail, and you are ready to start sewing. Make sure that both strands are completely straight. As you can see here, I have a little bit of a loop that my needle is getting caught on, so I just want to move it to the end of that loop so that both of my strands are completely straight. To set the anchor for the blanket stitch, start on the inside of our fabric. So this is the outside that we want people to see and face outward. This is the inside of the fabric. So we see my centimeter seam allowance here. I'm going to go into the fabric, right at the edge of that seam allowance. Go ahead and pull all the way through to hit that knot. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come over the top, right back, try and make it through that same hole, pull your needle through, and tighten it up over that top edge. You don't have to pull it too tight, but make sure it's secure. Now that that is anchored, we should have our string coming out of the front of the fabric now. So to start our actual blanket stitches, we want to keep our thread on the left side of the fabric. We want to try and keep this same stitch length the entire way through, which is about 1 centimeter. So we're going to move up 1 centimeter, staying 1 centimeter away from the edge, puncture through, pull your needle through, and you will see this loop start to form. And you're going to pull that tight, and then kind of pull that stitch so it lays on the top of this edge. That is it. That is how you do a blanket stitch. So now we just repeat that same thing the entire way down. So we're going to move up 1 centimeter, stay about 1 centimeter from the edge, go down through your fabric. Make sure this strand goes underneath your needle, so that as you close that loop, it pulls around that string that you just put through. Pull it tight and then pull it up to make sure that lays flat across the top. Now, it's not gonna look like much right now, but once we get 3 or 4 stitches through, you're gonna start to see it take shape. So again, 1 centimeter up, 1 centimeter from the edge, going down through, getting this strand underneath your needle, pulling it through. You'll see that loop form. Sometimes it gets snagged on the fabric. Pull it tight and then pull it up along that top edge. Again, 1 centimeter up, 1 centimeter from the edge, push through, bring your needle over that strand, pull it tight, and then pull it up. Now, to finish the blanket stitch, we're going to bring that same strand back around to the back, enter your needle where you just came through, in the same spot. You want to try and come out the same area on the other side, just to make it cleaner. Move that knot all the way down so that it still looks, balanced and clean. And then we're going to, just to the right of it, poke through one more time, pull it all the way tight. You're gonna have a little thing right there, but you won't notice it at all on the actual mask. Now we're gonna flip over, put our needle through this previous stitch, staying on top of the fabric. We're only going underneath the thread. We're gonna see this loop form. We wanna come around this end and through the loop, and that is just going to tie a little knot, which you can push down and tighten. And then finally, so that is our basic blanket stitch. You'll notice this first stitch is kind of crooked. Every blanket stitch we're gonna do, that first stitch is always going to be crooked. So don't worry about it, don't panic, it's normal. That's what mine looked like too. And congratulations, you just learned how to do a blanket stitch. Snip the end.